Bruce C. Daniels brings up an interesting question in his article for the Journal of American Studies, Did the Puritans Have Fun? It seems like a simple question at first glance, but then you think about the different stereotypes that we tend to place on Puritans in colonial New England. To quote Daniels, they're often viewed as strict, dour, and killjoys. Their strict religious practices don't really seem to provide a conducive environment to fun. As Daniels points out at the beginning of his article, fun is essential in order to do the serious things in life. It's therapeutic. His article goes through the historiography on the subject, discussing scholars and historians who tried to disprove the stereotypes. He focuses on three main historians, Samuel Eliot Morison, Perry Miller, and Edmund Morgan. Morison's work describes the pleasures of Puritan life, and he tended to soften, warm, and humanize the Puritans. Miller's study on the Puritan mind, which we read about earlier this week, focuses more on how historians misunderstood their ideology. Morgan's writings focused on the Puritan family, and he managed to show the tender or fatherly side of John Winthrop. Daniels also used several literary references when discussing leisure and recreation, particularly to usually controversial topics, drinking and sex. One of Morgan's articles argues that Puritans did not have an issue with either as long as they were done in moderation and under the proper circumstances. Daniels' point in the first half of his article is that the Puritans didn't think something was sinful simply because it was enjoyable. They did promote fun in some measure. After trying to debunk the misconception of ascetic colonial Puritans, Daniels then spends the second half of his article explaining why the misconception is present. Literary evidence is not enough to prove reality, as social historian Derek Ruttman agrees. People were just too different to make that generalization. New Englanders came from various colonies, they weren't all church members, and they lived in different urban or rural lives. There's no way to definitively know how strict or morally loose these average Puritans were, because the average Puritan is not a well-defined term. The way Puritans reared their children adds even more confusion to the title question. Puritan minister John Robinson advocated a repressive method to break the natural stubbornness and pride of children, forcing them to grow up rather quickly and become adults at a young age. So even if the Puritan ideology was okay with leisure, reality seemed more strict because of the socialization process during a person's development. So the question in the title is not so simple after all. Did Puritans actually have fun? We won't really know.